So, Devin Pritchard just made her first public appearance as Nintendo of America's president.
I think she is too, and in fact, we have a message from the new president and COO of Nintendo of America. Let's take a look together.
Hi, everyone. It is great to be here. My name is Devin, and before anything else, I want to celebrate the New York Game Awards. 15 years of supporting the games industry, and in doing so, lifting up the voices, stories, and dreams of so many.
Oh, lifting up voices and dreams? Dreams! Bro, this is a f***ing video game company. You sell plastic boxes that play Mario. You're not running a goddamn charity for aspiring poets. But wait, it gets worse.
This show connects people who are united by a shared belief that every dream matters, and that everyone deserves a chance.
Every dream matters. Are you kidding me right now? This sounds like a Pinterest quote your aunt would share on Facebook.
To do meaningful and creative work in games and storytelling. The Playing with Purpose program supports the creators, the coders, the writers, and anyone else dreaming big to join this community and bring all that makes them unique. I'm excited to meet you, to hear those stories, and to learn from your journeys.
Learn from your journeys. Bro. She's been at Nintendo for 20 fucking years. 2 decades. She joined in 2006 when Reggie became president. She's been there longer than both Reggie and Doug Bowser. And now she's acting like she's some wide-eyed newcomer ready to learn from the community. This is classic corporate theater, my guy. This is the kind of performative bullshit where executives pretend they give a single solitary f about the community while simultaneously plotting to extract maximum profit from your wallet.
And remember, like any good video game character, you're on an adventure, and every step you take matters. There are some gnarly bosses, sure, but also many good friends along the way who will support you, and powerful rewards for those who persevere. So keep believing, keep playing, and know that you truly belong in this game.
She said gnarly bosses. A grown-ass woman, the president of Nintendo of America, a position that oversees billions in revenue, just said gnarly bosses in a professional setting. And then she hit us with, you truly belong in this game, like she's trying to make me cry at a fucking corporate presentation. This is what happens when you put someone in charge whose entire job is to be the smiling face, while the real decision makers in Japan figure out how to squeeze another $100 out of the Switch too. And here's the thing that's really pissing me off. Reggie introduced her by saying, I think Devin Pritchard is going to be excellent at the helm of Nintendo. The helm? She's not steering shit, she's the mascot, the figurehead. The person they trot out to say nice things while Shuntaro Furukawa and the NCL board make every actual decision that matters. Speaking of which, let's talk about what really happened here, because the article spells it out pretty fucking clearly. Along with Pritchard's promotion, Satoru Shibata, the former Nintendo of Europe president and current managing executive officer, corporate director, and member of the board at NCL, Nintendo's Japanese arm, joins Nintendo of America as its CEO, while still continuing his roles at NCL. Did you catch that? They promoted Pritchard to president, but they also brought in Satoru Shibata as CEO. So Pritchard gets the title and the spotlight, but Shibata, who's still on the board at Nintendo's Japanese headquarters, is the one with actual executive authority. This is the corporate equivalent of giving someone a participation trophy, while the real players make the actual decisions. And before the Nintendo Defense Force starts typing their essays in the comments, yes, I know she's been at Nintendo for 20 years. Yes, I know her track record speaks for itself, according to Doug Bowser's carefully worded PR statement. But let's examine that track record, shall we? According to the article, she is an exceptional leader, and her promotion is a testament to her strong performance and strategic contributions to the company's growth. Cool. What were those contributions exactly? Well, according to her official bio, she oversaw strategic sales, marketing, advertising, events, social media, original content, and played key roles in strategic launches of Pokemon Legends, Arceus, Kirby, and Nintendo Switch Sports. Those are the flagship accomplishments they're highlighting, not Breath of the Wild, not Mario Odyssey, not even Tears of the Kingdom or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We're celebrating Kirby and the f***ing Forgotten Land, Don't get me wrong, Kirby is fine, Pokemon Legends is trash, big trash. But if your big look what I accomplished moment is Nintendo Switch Sports, a game that most people forgot existed 2 months after launch, then maybe your strategic contributions weren't exactly earth-shattering. Nintendo just went through the most successful console generation in modern gaming. The Switch sold over 140 million units. They had the pandemic boost, they had Animal Crossing become a cultural phenomenon. They had multiple Zelda games break sales records. And during all of that, Pritchard was in senior leadership. So either she was integral to that success, in which case, why the are we only hearing about Kirby and Nintendo Switch Sports, or she wasn't integral to that success, which means this promotion is purely symbolic. And you know what? I think it's the latter. I think this is Nintendo doing what every major corporation does in 2026, promoting someone to a high-profile position so they can check a box and say, look, we have a woman in leadership, while the actual power structure remains completely unchanged. Because here's the reality. Doug Bowser announced he was stepping down back in September 2025, and what did he say? Now, it's time for the next generation of leadership, and Devon's track record speaks for itself. She is an exceptional leader, and her promotion is a testament to her strong performance and strategic contributions to the company's growth. I have full confidence that she will guide the company to even greater heights. That's PR speak for she's next in line, and we're not rocking the boat. And what did Pritchard say in response? I am humbled and excited to take on this new role. Doug has been a fantastic mentor, and I look forward to building on the incredible foundation he has helped establish. With characters and worlds that offer something for everyone, my focus will be continuing to build on Nintendo's legacy of surprising and delighting our longtime fans, while at the same time welcoming new players into the Nintendo family. Continuing to build on Nintendo's legacy. Welcoming new players into the Nintendo family. This is the most generic, safest, least committal statement a person could possibly make. It's the corporate equivalent of, I'll do my best and try not to fuck anything up. There's no indication that anything is going to change under her leadership. And honestly, that's probably exactly what Nintendo wants. They don't want someone who's going to shake things up or challenge the status quo. They want someone who will smile, say the right things, and let the machine keep churning. But here's where this whole situation goes from annoying to genuinely concerning. Pritchard's appointment is happening at the exact same time that Nintendo is about to favor consumers with price hikes. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Let me read you what Nico Partners, a respected market research firm that's been in the business for over 20 years, predicted in their 2026 forecast. The Nintendo Switch 2 is competitively priced compared to the PS5 and Xbox Series X, after the latter consoles witnessed price hikes last year. But we believe the Switch 2 is set to follow in Sony and Microsoft's footsteps with its own price hike, driven by the impact from tariffs, increased memory costs, and broader macroeconomic conditions. So let me get this straight. Sony and Microsoft both raised their prices last year. Nintendo kept the Switch 2 at $449 at launch. And now, after getting everyone excited and committed to buying the console, they're going to jack up the price. And here's the kicker. Nico Partners specifically says Nintendo chose to maintain its $449 entry price last year, despite the introduction of tariffs impacting production in China, Japan, and Vietnam. More recently, increased demand for AI data centers has pushed RAM and storage prices up. You know what that means? It means Nvidia and AMD and all the tech companies are buying up memory chips for their AI bullshit, and now Nintendo, a company worth billions, is going to pass those costs directly onto consumers instead of eating even a fraction of the expense. And get this, here's what they think Nintendo will actually do. While we do anticipate Nintendo to increase the price of the Switch 2, they may opt to discontinue the $449 SKU and only sell a $499 or higher bundle SKU instead. Read that again. They're not going to raise the price of the console, they're just going to stop selling the cheaper version and force you to buy a bundle that costs more. It's the same result, but it lets them technically say, we didn't raise prices while absolutely raising prices. This is the kind of sneaky corporate horseshit that makes my blood boil. It's the same strategy they pulled with the original Switch when they discontinued the base model and pushed everyone toward the OLED. It's manipulative, it's anti-consumer, and it's exactly the kind of thing that happens when a company knows they have a captive audience. And speaking of captive audiences, let's talk about what Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa said last week. Here's the actual quote from Kyoto Shimbun. We procure RAM from suppliers based on our medium to long-term business plans, but the current memory market is very volatile. There is no immediate impact on earnings, but it is something we must monitor closely. No immediate impact on earnings. Let me translate that for you. We're still making shitloads of money, but we might make slightly less shitloads of money if we don't raise prices. So we're probably going to raise prices. This man is literally telling you that Nintendo's profit margins are fine, but they're going to raise prices anyway because the memory market is volatile. Not because they're losing money, not because they can't afford to absorb the costs, but because they want to maintain maximum profit. And when asked if this could lead to price increases, Furukawa said it was hypothetical and he couldn't comment, which is corporate speak for yes, absolutely, but I'm not not going to confirm it until we've already got your money. But here's where it gets even more infuriating. Nintendo already showed us their hand last year when they raised prices on the original Switch. Let me read you what they said. Nintendo Switch 2 accessories will experience price adjustments from those announced on April 2 to changes in market conditions. Other adjustments to the price of any Nintendo product are also possible in the future. That's Nintendo telling you, we can and will raise prices whenever the we want, and we'll blame it on market conditions. And then they followed through. In August, they increased the price of the original Switch in the US. Switch went from $299 to $339. Switch OLED went from $399. Switch Lite went from $199 to $229. These are consoles that were already 8 years old at that point. 8-year-old hardware that Nintendo was still charging full price for, and they had the audacity to raise those prices even higher. So when Nico Partners predicts that Switch 2 is going to see a price hike in 2026, I don't think that's speculation. I think that's reading the writing on the wall. You see how freaking insulting this is? She's out here giving motivational speeches about dreams and belonging, while her company is actively planning to make their products less accessible to the average consumer. She's talking about welcoming new players into the Nintendo family, while Nintendo is literally about to make it more expensive to join that family. This is why people are pissed. Let's talk about that value proposition for a second. The Switch 2 launched with backwards compatibility, slightly better hardware, a larger screen with inferior LCD that causes ghosting, resolution issues in handheld mode, because Switch 1 games run at 720p on a 1080p screen, a tiny handful of Switch 2 Edition games that are just updated versions of Switch 1 games you already own. And what does Nintendo expect you to pay for these Switch 2 editions? $10 for a frame rate bump, maybe free if you have NSO Expansion Pass, maybe not, they won't say. $20 for visual upgrades bundled with DLC you don't want. $80 for Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition, when the original game cost $70. Let me put this in perspective. Nintendo is charging you extra money to get the performance and visuals that the game should have had in the first place if they'd actually built new games for the Switch 2 instead of just porting over Switch 1 titles. They're selling you the same games twice, sometimes 3 times if you count the original Wii U versions. Mario Kart 8 launched on Wii U, then it launched on Switch 1 for full price. Now it's on Switch 2 with no update, still full price. A game from 2014 is being sold for $60 in 2026 with 0 improvements. Donkey Kong Country Returns launched on Wii. Then it came to Switch 1 in 2025 for $60. Then it got a free Switch 2 update. A 15-year-old Wii game is now being sold for full price across 2 console generations. And people are supposed to be excited about this. We're supposed to celebrate Devin Pritchard's meaningful creative work, while Nintendo nickels and dimes us for decade-old games? No F that. Nintendo had a chance to make the Switch 2 a genuine next-gen experience. They had 8 years to develop new franchises, new gameplay mechanics, new ideas. They had the financial success of the Switch 1 to fund ambitious projects. Instead, they're giving us ports of Wii U games, ports of Switch 1 games, updated editions of games we already own, and maybe a couple of actually new first-party titles that we won't see until late 2026 or 2027. This is the Wii U strategy all over again, except somehow even more cynical. At least with the Wii U to Switch transition, most people didn't own a Wii U, so the ports felt newish. But now they're expecting people who owned a Switch 1 to pay full price for games they already bought, plus extra money for minor upgrades, plus a price increase on the console itself. You know what would be delightful? A $399 Switch 2 with actual new games at launch. A robust library of day one titles that aren't just ports. Free upgrades for Switch 1 games like literally every other console manufacturer does. Reasonable DLC pricing. Not raising prices on 8-year-old hardware. But we're not getting any of that.